Okay, let's begin today's session. Today we are going to discuss the section D of part 1, which is cost management. This cost management comprises of 15% of the total syllabus of the part 1. So this is 15%. This is the section D from the part 1, cost management. So let's begin. Okay, the major topics that are going to be discussed under this cost management section is variable and absorption costing, joint product and byproduct costing, process costing, job order costing, operation costing, life cycle costing, in which you have customer life cycle costing too, overhead cost allocation, activity based costing, shared service cost allocation, and estimating fixed and variable cost, various methods for estimating fixed and variable cost, and the theory portions, which is supply chain management and business process improvement. These are the major topics that are going to be dealt in this session, cost management. So first of all, what is cost management? So this cost management is a process for effectively planning and controlling the budgets of a business. So there are various costs which are involved in a business. So cost management is the process which is used to effectively and efficiently plan and control the various costs that are going to be incurred in the process of doing business. So it is in the business management arena, it is considered to be the most challenging process, most challenging task, because this cost and expenses are incurred in a business are usually recorded by an expert team called cost accountants in their cost records. And cost management includes the various activities, various techniques that we apply in effectively and efficiently planning and controlling the cost of a business. So in the cost management, there are various activities which includes collecting, analyzing, evaluating, and reporting the cost statistics for the budgeting purposes. So it involves collecting of cost data, analyzing of cost data, evaluating the cost data, and reporting the cost data to the top management or whoever the relevant authorities that requires this cost information. So while we have an effective cost management system, the company's overall budgeting process, overall budgeting can be brought under control. So this cost management is the main focus of the managerial accounting, because it helps the firm or the company in forecasting of the future expenditures for reaching their budgetary goals. So the entire cost management process is divided into mainly 3 phases, which is planning, implementation, and final analysis. In the planning stage, we implement the various techniques, various activities, or various processes that we use in planning or forecasting the cost information, and the various budgeting tools included. And in the implementation stage, we implement those techniques or those processes or those activities that we already planned. And in the final analysis, we evaluate our achieved results with that of our budgeted result in order to find whether there is any corrections or whether there is any need for corrective actions to be taken. So these are various benefits of cost management are provided as it helps in measuring the operational cost. The operational cost of the business, the costs that are incurred in the business for conducting its regular operations, this cost can be measured, and it can help in minimizing all non-value added costs, if not eliminate them. So there may be value adding cost or there may be non-value adding cost. By evaluating the entire cost structure, we could differentiate between value adding cost and non-value adding cost. It will be better to eliminate the non-value adding cost, or otherwise we could minimize those non-value adding costs. And the other benefit is it helps in saying if operations can be run more efficiently and effectively. We analyze the various costs that we need to incur in running our operations. So while analyzing all those costs, we can determine which all costs are necessary, which all are unnecessary costs, and this helps in running our operations more efficiently and effectively. And it helps in the creation of processes that will work better for future operations. While analyzing the current cost and taking steps to eliminate non-value adding costs and also enhancing value adding costs, it helps the business in carrying out its future operations more efficiently. These are the various benefits of cost management. Okay. Next topic that we are going to deal is with the various classifications of. So the various classifications of cost. So costs can be classified on various bases or on various criteria, and some of the common characteristics on which the cost can be classified as are by nature or by element, by functions, by identifiability, by variability, by controllability, by normality, and various other classification of the cost. These are the common bases on which the cost can be classified. So let's discuss the various classifications of the cost in detail. So by the nature or by element, the mainly costs are classified as three, which is material cost, labor cost or expenses, or it can also be called material cost, labor cost or the overheads. So material cost. So what is the material cost? Material cost includes the cost of materials that is used for the manufacturing of a product or maybe a work order or maybe a service in order to render a service, the cost incurred in rendering the service, the cost incurred in manufacturing a product, or the cost incurred in carrying out a work order. These are all the cost of materials. So here we are given with an example. The cloth for making a dress. The cloth is the raw material, the material used in making a dress. So the cost of the cloth is the material cost. And the stores used for maintaining machines and buildings such as lubricants, cotton waste, bricks, etc. While we are carrying out our operations using machines and by in maintaining the buildings, there are various materials that used, which includes the lubricants, the cotton waste, the bricks, or the building blocks of the material. All this comprises in the material cost. So this is the raw material, in particular, which is the raw material cost that is included or the direct material cost that we incur in producing a product, in rendering a service, or in carrying out a work order that we received. So this is the material cost. Then the other we have the labor cost. Labor cost is the total cost of the employees, total cost of the labor that we incur in carrying out a work. So it is defined as the total expenditure which is borne by the employers or which is incurred by the employers in order to employ workers. So the labor cost includes the direct cost by providing remuneration for work carried out by the laborers, which includes direct remuneration provided to laborers, the bonuses provided, and gratuity payments or ex gratia payments, which is not paid each pay period, and the payments for days not worked, which is the leave pay and the severance pay, any other benefits in kind which is provided to the employees is included in the labor cost. So in the labor cost, there may be also cost indirectly, which is indirectly linked to the employees. So which is not dependent on the remuneration which is paid to them, such as the social benefits, any vocational training, any other extra recreational facilities which is provided by the employers to the employees, which is independent of their remuneration, that are also, which is indirectly linked to the employees, are also included in the labor cost. And specific, the labor cost includes the direct labor cost and the indirect labor cost. In the direct labor cost, we have the direct remuneration, bonuses, any other payments which is made to the employees in kind by the employers are included in the direct labor cost. And indirect labor cost with the indirect labor expenses, which includes any social benefits, vocational training, or any recreational facilities which is provided by the employees to the employees in the course of their work. Then we have the expenses, also called as the overheads. These are the monies expended or the cost incurred by a firm in its effort to generate revenue, which is the cost of doing this business. These are the costs which is incurred by the firm in order to do its business, in order to carry out its operations. So they may be actual cash payments like wages, salaries, or also they may be non-cash payments like like imputed cost, which or like imputed cost, like depreciation of an asset, or provisions that we create for providing bad debts or any other provisions related. All these expenses are the expenses. All these represents the cost incurred by a business in carrying out its operations. So, which may be cash payments and non-cash payments. So, there is we learned about the cost, and there is a distinction between the expenses and the cost. Often, in common situations, it is used interchangeably, but in the actual sense, there is a difference between expense and cost. All expenses are cost, but not all costs are expenses. The costs which are expensed in the income statement or which are reported in the income statement represents expenses. So all costs are expenses, but all expenses are costs, but all costs does not appear to be expenses because they all costs are not recorded in the income statement, like opportunity cost or like any implicit cost incurred by the business, which are not brought into the income statement. So all these costs are not expenses, but all expenses are costs. Are you clear? The classification of the cost based on these elements, based on the nature, material cost, labor cost, and expenses or overheads. Next, move on. And the other classification of the cost is based on this function. So based on this function, costs are classified as production cost, selling cost, distribution cost, administrative cost, research cost, development cost, pre-production cost, conversion cost, and product cost. Based on this function, cost is classified on into 9. So let's discuss all these costs in detail. So the first, production cost. Production cost includes the cost of the sequence of operations, which begins with supplying materials, labor, and services, and ends with primary packing of the product. So the production cost includes the costs which are incurred in the production process of a product. Like take an example of product. The cost incurred in acquiring this raw material, from acquiring the raw material till completion of this product into a finished product. All those costs include in this various sequences of the operations that need to be undertaken from converting these raw materials to finished products represents this production cost. So it includes supplying materials, labor, and services, and the primary packing or packaging of the products. Those are all the costs which is included in the production cost. So the direct materials which are used in producing the product, the direct labor employed in producing the product, direct expenses that is incurred, and the various factory overheads or the manufacturing overheads which are incurred in the course of production of a product are included in the production cost. So all those costs which includes uh, which are applied from acquiring this raw material and putting it into the production process, carrying on the production process and completing this production process and converting the raw material into finished product. All those activities which are undertaken in this course incurs cost, demands cost. All those costs which are incurred in this course of production is called as production cost. So it includes direct material, direct labor, direct and indirect overheads, which can also be called manufacturing cost. The next, we have the selling cost. After converting the product into a finished product, we need to sell it to the customers. This product need to be provided into the hands of the final consumers. So we need to undertake selling efforts. So the selling cost includes the cost seeking to create and stimulate demand and of securing orders. We need to secure orders from the customers. We need to get orders from the customers, and we need to stimulate, we need to create demand for the product, and we need to bring this product into the hands of the final consumers. All those activities which are incurred in the process of marketing the product is included in the selling cost, which all those activities which are included in promoting the products and bringing the product into the hands of the final consumers are included in the selling cost. And then we have the distribution cost. So after the product is being produced, it is packed and it is dispatched and it is to be reached to the hands of the final consumers. So in the course of providing the product to the final consumers, we need to transport the product from our production place to the consumption place. So the distribution cost is a cost which is included in this process. So it includes the cost for packing the product and dispatching it and making the condition returned empty package if any available for reuse. So it includes the various expenses which is incurred in transporting articles to the central or local storage, as well as moving these articles to and from this prospective customers. When there is any, it needs to be provided into the hands of the customers, as well as if there is any returns that all need to be taken back. So all these costs are included in the transportation cost. Here we are provided with an example of the gas, electricity, and water industry, where the distribution means the pipes, the mains, and the services, which may be regarded as the equivalent of packing and transportation. If the product is gas, or if the product is electricity, or if the water industry, this product needs to be transported to the final consumer using pipelines, using mains, or using electric wires, or in case of a water industry services, various transportations needs to be provided. All these are regarded as the packing and transportation in this kinds of industry. So these costs are included in the distribution cost. Then we have the administrative cost. So a business may be having a production facility. At the same time, it needs to have an administrative department that should administer all the activities that are undertaken in the business, that need to administer all the common activities which are going to be carried on in the business. So the administrative cost includes the cost of formulating the policy, the directing and guiding the organization, and the cost including controlling the operations of an undertaking, cost of controlling the operations of an undertaking. So which these all operations are not directly linked to the production, selling or distribution, research or development activity or any other functions of the business, but these are the necessary activity in order to carry out the business effectively. So all those activities, all those costs which are incurred in carrying and formulating the policy, in directing the organization, in controlling the operations of the business, all those costs are come under the perspective of administrative cost. Then we have the research cost. So in order to develop the product, in order to innovate a product, in order to provide modifications to a product, we need to carry out research activity. So the cost incurred in carrying out the research activity for new and improved products, for new applications of the material, or any providing any improvement in the materials or modifications in the process, all those costs related to conducting the research are come under the purview of research cost. Then we have the development cost. So the development cost, after conducting the research, we develop a product, we develop an idea, we conceive an idea. This idea needs to be put into a physical form. This idea needs to be provided a substance form. So the development cost is the cost incurred in developing the idea into a product. The cost of the process which begins with the implementation of a decision, and after that we need to produce a new or improved product and employ a new or improved methods, and it ends with the commencement of the formal production of that product or by that product. After an idea is conceived, this idea need to be put into action. So the cost that needs to the cost that is incurred in developing, in putting this idea into action, or turning this idea into a product, or developing an idea into a product, these costs are included in the development cost. Then we have the pre-production cost. Before the production process start, after we have undertaken the research work and we develop the prototype of the product, we need to check whether this product will be successful or not, whether this product meets the specific criteria for which it is created. So before the actual production starts, we need to undertake a trial run. So the trial production run preliminary to the formal production process starts. So this part of the development cost which is incurred in making a trial production run before the formal production, which is included in the pre-production cost. So this term includes all activities prior to production, which includes research and development, but the context difference. The research and development cost is also included in the pre-production cost, but the context may differ depending upon the situations in which it is used. Then we have the conversion cost. Conversion cost is the cost which is incurred in converting the raw materials into finished products. So the various costs which we incur in converting the raw material into final product is termed as conversion cost. The conversion cost includes the direct labor cost as well as the manufacturing overheads which we incur in producing this product. So the sum of the direct wages, direct overhead cost of converting raw materials to the finished stage or finished product is termed as conversion cost. So in certain cases, this conversion cost also includes certain excess material cost. So in particular stage of production, we may incur certain wastages or we may incur extra material cost. All these costs also come under this conversion cost because all these costs comprise of the overhead cost. If there is any wastage, a normal wastage, all these are termed as the product cost. All these are considered to be a part of the product cost. So it's come under the conversion cost. Then we have the product cost. This product cost is also called inventoriable cost. So these product costs are the costs which can be assigned to a particular product. So the product cost includes the direct material cost, direct labor cost, and the various manufacturing overhead or factory overhead that is included in producing the product. In a sense, these are the inventoriable cost or the cost that is treated as the cost of a particular product. So these are the various classifications based on the function. Once more, we have production cost, we have selling cost, we have distribution cost, administrative cost, research cost, development cost, reproduction cost, conversion cost, and product cost. These are the various classifications of the cost based on this function. So at this till this point, we learned two classification of the cost. First, on the basis of nature or element, which includes material, labor, and overhead. On the basis of function, these are the various classifications. The cost is classified into 9. So in the third classification, we have the product that is classified on the basis of identifiability. On the basis of identifiability, the product is classified as the cost is classified as direct cost and indirect cost. So direct cost. Direct costs are the costs that are directly attributable to a particular product or which can be directly traced to a particular product. So the direct cost includes expenses on materials and labor, which can be easily traceable, which can be directly traceable to a particular product, a service, or a job are considered as direct cost. So in the course of manufacturing a product or production of materials purchased, the laborers that are employed in producing the products, the wages that is paid to them, and the certain expenses that are directly incurred in producing that particular product are termed as direct cost. So because all these costs take an active and direct part in the manufacturing of that particular product, hence they are called as this direct cost. So here we are provided with an example. So say take for example of a burger. The meat that is stuffed in a burger is direct cost because we could directly trace this particular cost in a burger, which can be seen with the rice, which can be directly traced in a particular product. So this direct cost includes the direct material, direct labor, or any other direct expenses or direct overhead that is incurred in the course of the manufacturing of a product or rendering of a service or carrying out a job which is assigned. And then we have the indirect cost. So indirect costs are the, as the name itself suggests, which cannot be directly traced to a particular product, which are indirect in nature. So these expenses incurred on those items which are not directly traceable or directly chargeable to production are known as indirect cost. So in example, in production, the salaries of the timekeepers, the storekeepers, the guard, the foreman, certain expenses, administrative expenses, all these are not directly linked with carrying out the production, but they are necessary in carrying out the production. All these costs are called as indirect costs. So these costs cannot be directly conveniently allocated to production and Hence, they are called indirect costs. These indirect costs are allocated to the product based on suitable allocation basis. This cannot be directly traced to a particular product. So these are the indirect costs. So on the basis of the identifiability, product is classified as direct cost and indirect cost. Direct costs are the costs which can be directly chargeable to a particular product. Indirect costs are the costs which cannot be directly chargeable to a particular product. Usually, indirect cost includes the selling, administrative, and other general expenses which is incurred in the course of operating a business. Are you clear? Okay, let's move on. And the next classification of the cost is based on variability. Based on variability, the cost is classified as fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable cost, step cost, also called semi-fixed cost. Fixed cost, as the name itself suggests, it is fixed. It remains constant within a relevant range. So, which does not vary with the activity level, which remains constant within a relevant range. So, examples of the fixed cost is provided as rent, irrespective of the activity level or the production capacity. The rent keeps constant. Insurance of factory buildings. All these costs are fixed cost, remains the same for different levels of the production. Here we are given a graph of the fixed cost. Here we could see in the x-axis the production as depicted, and in the y-axis the cost is provided. And the fixed cost graph is the line which is provided here. And irrespective of the level of production, say this production is providing 1,000 units, whether it be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, or 5,000, the fixed cost remains constant within a relevant range. Keeping the production is within the relevant range, the fixed cost remains constant. Once it shifts the relevant range, the fixed cost may change. Then we have the variable cost. As the name itself suggests, it is variable. It is changing or varying. These costs, which tend to vary with the volume of output or with the change in the activity level, is termed as variable cost. If the production increases, these costs also increases. If the production decreases, these costs also decreases. So those costs which vary with the production level is termed as variable cost, like the cost of materials. If our production increases, the material cost that we need to incur in producing this product also increases. The labor cost, because once we produce more, we need to incur more labor in producing this product. So material cost, labor cost are examples of the variable cost. Here we are also provided with a graph of a variable cost. The graph here production is provided in the x-axis and cost is provided in the y-axis, and the production variable cost is which is a upward sloping curve. If there is no production, there will be no variable cost. But in case of fixed production, even though there is no production, we need to incur a minimum fixed cost. So if there is no production, if the situation is zero production, we will need to incur a fixed cost. But if the production is zero, there will be no variable cost. Variable costs are the costs which vary with the production levels. It is a now upward sloping curve. It starts from the origin. Then we have the semi-variable cost. The semi-variable cost itself suggests it is semi-variable. Half of the portion or some of the portion of this cost is variable. So which the cost that does not vary proportionately with the change in the activity level is what is called as the semi-variable cost. In the semi-variable cost, there will be a fixed portion and there will be a variable portion. The fixed cost portion remains the same within the relevant range, and this variable portion will varies with the production level. So, like repairs, depreciation, like repairs, or the electricity charge or the telephone charge, all these examples of this semi-variable cost, because there will be a minimum charge that needs to be paid irrespective of your activity level. Let's take it as example of electricity charge in our household. Whether we consume electricity or whether we or not, whether we consume power or not, there will be minimum expenses that we need to be paid, which represents a fixed cost. And depending upon our consumption level, the cost increases, which is the variable portion. So the variable cost includes both fixed portion as well as the variable portion. So here we are provided with a graph of the semi-variable cost. It is also an upward sloping curve, but because it does not start with the origin, because there is a minimum fixed expenses that we need to incur irrespective of the level of activity. So it does not start with the origin. And then we have the step cost, also called semi-fixed cost. So this fixed cost, which can be further classified into committed fixed cost and discretionary fixed cost, because committed fixed cost represents those fixed costs which are already committed. We cannot change. It's unavoidable. If the organization has to function, which cannot be changed in the short term, like depreciation, rent, pay, etc. When we already rented a building, that need to be for a minimum period of time. So we need to incur those rent expenses for that period of time. Depreciation, we have already purchased an equipment and that equipment is put into the use. So we need to provide for depreciation for those expenses. These are all the committed fixed cost, which is unavoidable. We cannot change it. Discretionary, there are also discretionary fixed costs, because these costs are incurred at the discretion of the management, like research and development cost, advertisement and market research expenses. These are incurred at the discretion of the management. The management can decide whether it needs to incur those fixed costs or not. In the step cost, we have the step cost, as we can see in the graph itself. It is like a step upward, providing upward going steps, because a certain portion of this cost remains fixed over a range of activity. Once this range of activity shifts to the next range of activity, the fixed cost changes. So such cost which behave like a first step is called as step cost. So here we are provided with an example. A foreman who is in a position is provided to supervise a given number of employees. For example, the foreman, one foreman is required to supervise 10 employees. So when the employees is between 1 to 10, one foreman is only required. Once the number of employees shifted to 11, the requirement for foreman will shift to 2. And 11 to 20, it remains 2. And once it becomes 21 to 30, the requirement of the foreman will be 3. So it behaves in a step pattern. So certain costs remain fixed over a range of activity, and then jump to a new level of activity, the cost also changes. So these are the classification of the cost based on the identifiability as, variability as fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable cost, and step cost. Are you clear? Okay. Let's move on. Then the next classification of the cost is based on controllability. On the basis of controllability, costs are classified as controllable cost and uncontrollable cost. So the controllable cost, as the name itself suggests, these are controllable. These are controllable by the decisions of the management. So these are the costs which can be influenced by the action of a specified member of an undertaking. These are the costs which are under the control, which can be controlled by a decision made by the management. So a business, usually the business organization is divided into various departments, usually called as responsibility centers. And each responsibility centers is headed by a manager or an executive. The particular executive or the particular head of that department can decide whether this cost can be incurred or not. Or such certain costs which are under the direct influence of the heads of those departments are called as controllable costs. Hence, this executive can control the cost incurred in that particular responsibility centers, which are controllable costs. And then we have the uncontrollable cost. So uncontrollable costs are the costs which cannot be controlled, which cannot be influenced by any action of a specified member of an undertaking. So here we provide with an example, like for the expenses incurred by the tool room is controllable by the foreman in charge of that section, But the share of the tool room expenditure, which is apportioned to a machine shop, is not to be controlled by the machine shop foreman. Here, the machine shop foreman is not in a position to influence the cost in the tool department. So, a portion of the tool room cost of the tool room department is allocated to the machine department. So, which cannot be controlled by the actions of this machine shop foreman because he does not have the responsibility for the incurrence of the cost in this tool room department. So, like the common administrative expenses or the central administrative expenses incurred by an organization, these are all which these are all not in the control of the heads of the certain departments, which are common in nature. Certain common fixed costs are not controllable by the actions of the specified members of an undertaking. These are the uncontrollable costs. So based on the controllability, costs are classified as controllable cost and uncontrollable cost. So let's move on. And the next classification of the cost is based on the normality. On the base of normality, costs are classified as normal cost and abnormal cost. Normal costs are the cost which is normally incurred at a given level of output under the conditions in which that level of output is normally attained. And the normal situation, and everything is under normal, when everything is normally functioning, certain costs which are incurred in that particular conditions are called as the normal cost, and abnormal costs which are not normally incurred, which are abnormal in nature. Normal cost includes the normal loss. If we undertake the production process, we expect a normal amount of wastage that is to be incurred based upon the past or previous expenses or previous experiences or the characteristics of the product or the peculiarity of the production process. There may be a normally expected level of cost. But abnormal costs are the costs which are beyond the normal level, which are abnormally occurring. So this is charged to the costing P&L account. This normal costs are charged to the production cost. So the abnormal loss, abnormal wastages are part of the abnormal cost. These normal costs are beyond the which are out of the control of the department, but abnormal costs are within the control of the department, which may be incurred due to lack of care or a faulty production process or certain faulty decisions on the part of the management. And the next classification of the cost, the other cost, which includes the product cost and period cost. Product cost that we already discussed about, and period cost. Period cost are the costs which are other than the product cost, which are expensed as they are incurred in the income statement. And decision making cost and accounting cost. We have the relevant cost and irrelevant cost, shutdown cost and sunk cost. Sunk costs are the costs which are already incurred, we cannot change this cost. We cannot cannot change this cost depending upon our present decisions. These are already incurred costs. Then you have avoidable or escapable and unavoidable or inescapable cost. Imputed or hypothetical cost. Imputed cost or implied cost, which there will be no cash expenses, but these are used for the decision making purposes. We have differential cost, incremental cost, or decremental cost. Incremental cost means additional cost. Differential costs are the costs which differ among the various alternatives. We have out of pocket cost means the actual cost that we or can be called as explicit cost. Actually, we made a cash expenses. Cash is actually there is a cash outflow, and we have the opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is the cost of the next best alternative, which is foregone, which is also called implied cost or imputed cost. Traceable cost or untraceable cost, and we have joint cost or common cost. Joint costs are the costs incurred in the joint production process, and common costs are the costs which is incurred in common, and these are allocated to the products of the production depending upon certain suitable basis. So these are the various other classification of this cost. This will be discussed in detail later. So we will be discussing the product cost in detail. Okay, can we move on? Okay. So we discussed product cost earlier, but we are going to discuss this product cost in detail. This product cost is also called inventoriable cost because these costs are represented as part of the inventory in our accounting records. These are the cost for production process without which the production could not be carried on. And this product costs are attached to each unit and are carried on this balance sheet as part of the cost of this inventory, like work in process inventory cost, or when the production is completed, it is represented as finished goods inventory cost until this unit is sold. When the unit is sold, this finished goods inventory cost will flow to the cost of goods sold from the balance sheet to the income statement. So these product costs are the inventoriable cost. So the various costs which are included in the product costs are, we have the direct labor cost. Direct labor costs are the cost of this direct labor that can be directly traced to the production of a product. So the cost of the wages that is paid to the production workers is a direct labor cost for a manufacturing or production company. So these are the cost of the labor that can be directly traced. It is the direct cost and it is a production cost itself because these are the costs which can be directly traced to the production of a particular product. These are the direct labor costs. And in producing a product, there may be certain labors involved. The cost of the wages or any other benefits provided to those benefits in kind provided to the workers involved in producing that product is included in the direct labor cost. And then we have the direct material cost. These direct materials are the raw materials that are directly used in producing this particular product or converting the raw materials into finished products. So these raw materials that are used in producing this finished products represents the direct material cost. So the direct material cost includes all those costs which are associated with acquiring this raw material and the raw material itself and the shipping in cost. We need to bring the raw material from the supplier to our production place. The shipping in cost or the transportation in cost and the insurance that we incur for the raw materials are all the costs which is included in the direct material cost. So the common examples are provided for the direct material cost are plastics and any components which are used for the manufacturing of a particular product. So the cost of direct material include the cost for acquiring the raw material, the cost for making an order with the supplier, contacting with the supplier, acquiring this raw material cost, the cost of the raw material itself, the transportation in cost, the carriage in cost, and the insurance cost and various other direct costs included associated with the raw materials are included in the direct material cost. And then we have the manufacturing overhead. Manufacturing overhead, also called factory overhead, it is company's cost which is related to the production process other than the direct material or direct labor cost but are essential for carrying out the production process. So examples of the manufacturing overhead are indirect labor, the indirect material, rework cost. If we produce a product and we found there is any by undertaking inspection, we found out there is any defects. So we need to rework this product in order to turn that defect into a good unit. So the rework cost incurred in conversion of the defective units into good units are included in the manufacturing overhead. Electricity and other utilities that are used in the factory building. In order to produce a product, certain amenities are required. So the cost of those certain amenities are required are not directly traceable to a particular product, but are essential for carrying out that production. So that amenities cost, depreciation of the plant equipment. In order to produce a product, we need that equipment. So depreciation for provided for the plant equipment is included in the manufacturing overhead, which was not incurred in producing the product, but they are necessary in order to carry out the product and the factory rent. All this comprises in the manufacturing overhead. It includes indirect labor, indirect materials, the rework cost, electricity and other utilities incurred, depreciation of the plant equipment and the factory rent. And the indirect labor. So indirect labor is a labor that is part of the overall production process, but that does not come into a direct contact with the actual production process. But they are necessary in order to carry out this production process. We can say example of the labor cost for employees of the manufacturing equipment maintenance department. In order to manufacture a product, we need equipment or machinery. So the cost of the cost incurred for the employees who are involved in maintaining the equipment or the maintenance department for the manufacturing equipment are the cost of the around the cost of labor, which is indirect in nature. So which is a manufacturing overhead cost. And then we have the indirect material. So like the indirect labor, so indirect materials are the material that does not form the main component of the finished goods, but they are actually used in the production of that particular product, because like glue, screws, nails, and other materials such as machine oils, lubricants, and any other miscellaneous supplies that may not have a physical contact with the finished product, but they are essential for the carrying of the production smoothly. So direct materials are also part of the manufacturing overhead cost. So the production cost includes direct labor, direct material, and manufacturing overhead. This manufacturing overhead, we have indirect labor, indirect material, basic amenities cost, depreciation cost, factory rent, and other labor cost incurred. And there is other classification of this production cost. We need other classification or the this production cost in direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead. All these come under the other classification of the cost, which includes prime cost, manufacturing cost, and conversion cost. Prime cost are the cost. Prime cost includes the cost of direct material and direct labor. These are the primary cost or the main cost which is incurred in producing the product, or the cost of the direct inputs. So these are the direct cost of manufacturing, which includes direct material and direct labor. Prime cost equals direct material plus direct labor. And the manufacturing cost are the cost which includes direct material, direct labor, and all the manufacturing overhead includes manufacturing overhead that are included, that are incurred in producing that particular product. So conversion cost is the cost, as we discussed earlier, cost incurred in converting the raw material into finished product, which includes the direct labor and the manufacturing overhead, which is included. Conversion cost includes the manufacturing overhead, both fixed and variable manufacturing overhead, and the direct labor. So conversion cost equals manufacturing overhead plus direct labor. So this manufacturing cost includes the prime cost as well as the manufacturing overhead, or conversion cost plus direct materials. So manufacturing cost can also be called as product cost, because all the costs, including the product cost like direct material, direct labor, and manufacturing overhead, are all manufacturing cost. So these are the various classifications of the cost. In short, products classified on the basis of nature or element into material, labor, and expenses by function into production, selling cost, administrative cost, depreciation cost, research cost, development cost, pre-production cost, conversion cost, like etc. And yeah, on the basis of identifiability, it is classified as direct cost and indirect cost. On the basis of variability, fixed cost, variable cost, semi-variable cost, semi-fixed cost, or step cost. On the basis of controllability, controllable cost and uncontrollable cost. On the basis of normality, normal cost, abnormal cost. Other cost classification includes product cost, period cost, discretionary cost, decision-making cost and accounting cost, relevant and irrelevant cost, shutdown and sunk cost, avoidable and unavoidable cost, or escapable or inescapable cost, imputed cost or hypothetical cost, differential, incremental or decremental cost, out-of-pocket cost or explicit cost, opportunity cost, traceable or untraceable cost, joint cost, and common cost. These are the various based on which costs are classified. And we discussed the product cost in detail, the various costs that are included in the product cost, and prime cost. Prime cost includes direct material and direct labor. Conversion cost includes direct labor and manufacturing overhead. Manufacturing cost includes all the costs in, like direct material, direct labor, and the manufacturing overhead applied in the production. So these are the various classifications of the cost. Are you clear with the various classifications of the cost? Is there anything that I should explain? Do you need further explanation in certain areas? So next, let's discuss some of the questions from this area, classification of the cost. Can you see the window? The questions, the PDF file that I opened. Okay. So let's carry on. The first question. A cost that always can be physically traced to a cost object is. This question, we have the options: a prime cost, a variable cost, an indirect cost, a conversion cost. A cost that always can be physically traced to a cost object as direct cost. There is no such option. Okay, prime cost. Okay, the answer is right. So prime cost includes the cost of the direct material and the direct labor. So all those costs can be physically traced because direct material and direct labor are direct costs because that can be directly or physically traced to a particular product. So the variable cost, which are varies with which may include variable indirect costs too, indirect costs which are not directly traceable to a particular product. Conversion cost includes direct labor as well as manufacturing overhead. In the manufacturing overhead, we have indirect material and indirect labor. So among the four options, the right option is prime cost because the prime cost includes direct material and direct labor cost, which are both direct costs, which are directly traceable or physically traced to a cost object. So are you clear with the explanation? Okay, let's move forward. The next question we have, which one of the following is correct regarding a relevant range? So option A, the relevant range cannot be changed after being established. Actual fixed cost usually fall outside the relevant range. Total variable cost will not change. Total fixed cost will not change. So which one of the following is correct regarding a relevant range? Option D, total fixed cost will not change. Yes, you are right. Because within the relevant range, total fixed cost remains constant. Total variable cost is not constant, but unit variable cost is constant. Actual fixed costs usually fall outside the relevant range. It's not true. The relevant range cannot be changed after being established. It's not true because in the short run, it cannot be changed, but in the long run, all costs are variable. We cannot change our capacity. Based upon this capacity, our fixed cost. Our relevant range is the capacity or the production capacity. This production capacity can be increased or can be decreased by us or our future decisions. In the long run, this can be changed. So the correct option is total fixed cost will not change. Total fixed cost in the long run remain. So total fixed cost within the relevant range remains constant. Unit fixed cost varies, but unit variable cost will be constant. Total variable cost varies. Then we have third question. In a traditional manufacturing operation, direct cost would normally include. In a traditional manufacturing operation, among the four options, which is the direct cost: wood in a furniture factory, commissions paid to salespersons, machine repairs in an automobile factory, electricity in an electronics plant, which is a direct cost. It's option A. It's very simple because wood in a furniture factory represents a raw material or direct material, which is a direct cost. Commissions paid to salesperson is an indirect cost. It's an indirect manufacturing. It's a non-manufacturing overhead. Machine repairs in an automobile factory, it is also an indirect cost. The repairs cost is an indirect cost, manufacturing overhead. Electricity in electronic plants is an indirect cost, it's a manufacturing overhead. And it is indirect. So wood in a furniture factory is a direct cost, it's a direct material cost. Among the four options, the right option is wood in a furniture factory. And the fourth question, committed cost. So we are provided with four options. Committed costs are those management decides to incur in the current period to enable the company to achieve objectives other than the filling of orders placed by customers. Option B, those that fluctuate in total in response to small changes in the rate of use of capacity. Option C, likely to respond to the amount of attention devoted to them by a specified manager. Option D, governed mainly by past decisions that establish the current levels of operating and organizational capacity and that only change slowly in response to small changes in capacity. Among the four options, what is committed cost? The question asks us about the definition of a committed cost. Yes, option B. Yes, you are right. Governed mainly by the past decision that can establish the current levels of operating capacity, operating organizational capacity, and that only change slowly in response to small changes in capacity. As we discussed earlier, committed costs are the costs which are already committed. We cannot change. These are the results of the past action. And likely to respond to the amount of attention devoted to a specified manager is a discretionary cost because a specified manager is in a capacity to influence those costs. So due to its influence, this cost is likely to change. So which is a discretionary cost. And those that fluctuate in total in response to small changes in the rate of use of capacity is what is variable cost. And those management decide to incur in the current period to enable the company to achieve objectives other than the filling of orders placed by customers is also a discretionary cost, which is not a committed cost because the manager is based on the decisions of the manager. He is in the position to change the cost or the change the occurrence of that cost because that is not a committed cost. And next question, question number 5. So here we have provided a management has prepared a graph showing the total cost of operating branch warehouses throughout the country. The cost line crosses the vertical axis at 200,000 and the total cost of operating one branch is 350,000. The total cost of operating 10 branches is 1,700,000. For purposes of preparing a flexible budget based on the number of branch warehouses in operation, what formula should be used to determine the budgeted cost at various levels of activity? Here we are asked to formulate a cost equation. So in formulating a cost equation, let's say total cost is equal to total variable cost plus total fixed cost. So we know the total fixed cost keeps constant and the total variable cost will be changing, but unit variable cost will be constant. So here let's take X to be the number of units and Y to be the total cost and Y the total cost is equal to total variable cost plus total fixed cost. And total variable cost will be the unit variable cost. What is the unit variable cost? We know that the so the cost of operating one branch is 350,000. So the unit variable cost is going for one branch is to be 350,000 minus 200,000, which will be 150,000. So unit variable cost is going to be 150,000 X may be the number of units or the number of branches plus the total fixed cost. We know that the cost line crosses the vertical axis at 200,000. When does the cost line crosses the vertical axis? At the vertical axis, we represent the cost, which is the fixed cost. This is the minimum amount of fixed cost, 200,000. So y is equal to 150,000 x plus 200,000 is going to be our cost line equation. So in this option, option A, y is equal to 200,000 plus 150,000 is the cost line equation. Do I have to explain once more? Okay, variable cost is equal to total cost minus fixed cost. Okay, yes, you are right. You are right. Because we are provided with the total cost of operating one branch to be 350,000 and the fixed cost is 200,000. So total cost minus the fixed cost is 350,000 minus 200,000, which is 150,000 for one branch. So your unit variable cost for one branch, it will be 150,000. 150,000 in, let the number of branches x, let the number of branches be x. 150,000 into x will be the total variable cost and 200,000 is going to be our fixed cost. So the total cost is going to be 200,000 plus 150,000 into x. Are you clear? Okay. So let's move forward to the next question. So the next question, Bateco has the following cost components for 100,000 units of product for the year. And the cost that is provided to us, the raw materials, direct labor, manufacturing overhead, selling or administrative expenses are provided to us. All costs are variable except for 100,000 of the manufacturing overhead and 100,000 of the selling and administrative expenses. So in this selling and administrative expenses, 100,000 is fixed. Manufacturing overhead, 100,000 is fixed. The total cost to produce and sell 110,000 units are. Just a minute. Say for example, we have provided with the cost data for 100,000 units of the product for the year, raw material, direct labor, manufacturing overhead, and selling and administrative expenses. And we are given with the information that 100,000 of the manufacturing overhead and 100,000 of the selling and administrative expenses are fixed, remaining as variable. So let's compute what is the total variable cost. Total variable cost will be 200,000. 200,000 of the direct that raw material, 100,000 of the direct labor. From the manufacturing overhead, 100,000 is fixed, so the remaining 100,000 is variable. Plus from the selling and administrative expenses, 100,000 is fixed, so 50,000 is going to be the variable cost. So the total variable cost for 100,000 units is 450,000. Let's compute. So total variable cost for this 100,000 units is 450,000 for 100,000 units. So for one unit, it is going to be 4.5. So For we are asked a question for 110,000 units. For 110,000 units, the total variable cost is going to be 4.5 into 110,000, which equals 495,000. Okay. Then the total fixed cost is 100,000 of the manufacturing overhead and 100,000 of the selling and administrative expenses, which remains constant respective of within the relevant range. Here we are not provided with information regarding the whether this 110,000 is out of the relevant range or not. So let's assume it is within our relevant range. So the total fixed cost is going to be 200,000. So the total cost is 495,000 plus 200,000 is going to be 695,000. Option B. Are you clear? Can you explain? Okay, total variable cost. Okay. We are given with the variable cost for the 100,000 units. We know that unit variable cost will be constant. So let's take the total variable cost for this 100,000 and divide it by the 100,000 unit. We get the unit variable cost. So the total variable cost for 100,000 units equals raw materials 200,000, direct labor 100,000, and from the manufacturing overhead we are given that 100,000 as fixed. So the remaining 100,000 will be variable. And for selling and administrative expenses, 100,000 is fixed. So remaining 50,000 will be variable. So the total variable cost will be 200,000 plus 100,000 plus 100,000 plus 50,000. 450,000 is going to be the total variable cost to produce 100,000 units. So for 1 unit, it is going to be 450,000 divided by 100,000, 4.5. So we get the unit variable cost. We can multiply this unit variable cost with the 110,000 units to get the total variable cost required to produce 110,000 units, which is 4.5 into 110,000, which is 495,000. So the total fixed cost, we know that 100,000 of manufacturing overhead and 100,000 of the selling and administrative expenses is a fixed cost, which will remain constant. So total fixed cost is 200,000. So total cost equals total variable cost plus total fixed cost, which is 495,000 plus 200,000, which is 695,000. Is it clear? Okay, let's move forward. Okay, next question. As a theory question, a cost that bears an observable and non-relationship to a quantifiable activity base is an. A cost that bears an observable and non-relationship to a quantifiable activity base. Option A, engineered cost. Option B, sunk cost. Option C, target cost. Option D, indirect cost. Option D, indirect cost. Please look into the question. A cost that bears observable, which is traceable, and non-relationship to a quantifiable activity base. Indirect cost cannot be directly traced to a particular product. So indirect cost is the wrong answer. Which is the right answer from the four alternatives. Okay, let me say the correct answer is option A, engineered cost. So what is engineered cost? Engineered cost are the elements of cost for which the right or proper amount of cost that should be incurred can be estimated with a reasonable degree of reliability. So, like the cost incurred for direct labor, direct material, components, supplies, and other utilities that is used in the production of a particular product can be estimated or can be properly or clearly identifiable, clearly traced with a reasonable level of reliability. So this represents this engineered cost. So their inputs, one of the main characteristics of the engineering cost is that their input can be measured in monetary terms like direct labor, direct material, and the utilities and other direct costs which are incurred in the production process can be their input can be expressed in monetary terms, and their output can also be measured in physical terms because after incurring a particular amount of raw material, it gets converted into a particular amount of finished product. So we can monetarily, physically measure the output also, and the optimal rupee amount of input required to produce 1 unit of output can be established. In order to produce 1 unit of finished product, we can determine how much of the raw material is to be required, how much of the direct labor needs to be employed, or how much of the other direct costs are to be incurred in producing 1 unit of the finished product. So all this can be estimated reliably with a reasonable level of reliability. Such costs are called as engineered costs. Sunk costs are the costs which are already incurred, which are past costs, historical costs, uh, which cannot be altered with our current decision. Target costs are the costs that we target to achieve. Indirect costs are the costs that are not directly associated with the production of a product, which cannot be directly traced to a particular product. Okay, let's move on. Then question number 8. The relevant range refers to the range of activity levels within which option A costs fluctuate, option B relevant costs are incurred, option C production varies, option D cost relationships hold constant. So relevant range refers to the range of activity levels within which cost fluctuates. Either cost fluctuate, relevant costs are incurred, production varies, or cost relationships hold constant. This is the answer. Can you give me answer? Option B. It's wrong. The right answer is option D. Cost relationships hold constant. Because option B tells relevant costs are incurred. What is the range of activity? Relevant range is the production capacity. Our relevant, it's our established capacity. So the relevant cost incurred, it's not a true statement because there will be relevant cost and irrelevant cost which are incurred in the production process. So only the relevant costs are incurred in the relevant range is not a true statement. So there may be certain costs which are not relevant to our decision making, but these are actually incurred in this production process, which are incurred in the business operations, but they are not relevant to decision making. Say, and although even though these costs are incurred in this process, so cost fluctuate. We cannot say cost fluctuates because within the relevant range, total fixed cost remain constant and unit variable cost remains constant. So we cannot say the costs are fluctuating. Production varies. No, within the relevant range, relevant range establishes the production capacity. The production may vary within the relevant range, but the top limit is the relevant range. Cost relationships constant. What does the cost relationship define? In the relevant range, we said that the total fixed cost remain constant and the unit variable cost remains constant, and total cost will be all those relationship, including the total cost, total variable cost, and total fixed cost. Relating to all these cost concepts are defined in these cost relationships. So within this relevant range, all the set cost relationships hold constant. All the cost relationship will not change. So the right answer is option D. Cost relationships hold constant. Is it clear? Let's move forward to question number 9. The term prime cost refers to costs that are predetermined and should be attained. All costs associated with manufacturing other than direct labor cost and raw material cost, the sum of raw material cost and direct labor cost, the sum of direct labor cost and all factory overhead cost. So what does prime cost refers to? Prime cost is a primary cost. Can you give me the answer? This is from the part that we discussed just now, the prime cost, which is including the product cost. Option C, right. The option C is the right answer. The sum of the raw material cost and the direct labor cost. Prime cost is equal to direct material cost plus direct labor cost. The cost that are predetermined should be attained, which is budget cost or the target cost. All costs associated with manufacturing other than direct labor cost and raw material cost are manufacturing overheads, not prime cost. The sum of direct labor cost and all factory overhead cost is termed as conversion cost. So prime cost is direct material cost plus direct labor cost. So the next question number 10. So Manchester Airlines is in the process of preparing a contribution margin income statement that will allow a detailed look at its variable cost and profitability of operations. Which one of the following cost combinations should be used to evaluate the variable cost per flight of the company's Boston-Las Vegas flights? So this is about the Manchester Airlines. They're in the process of preparing its contribution margin income statement. So among the following cost combinations, which would be used to evaluate the variable cost per flight of the company's Boston, Las Vegas flights, the variable cost per unit, which among the cost combinations can be used to compute to evaluate the variable cost per flight? Option A, fuel, food service and airport landing fees, flight crew salary, fuel and engine maintenance, airplane depreciation, baggage handling and airline marketing, communication system operations, food service and ramp policy. So among these four alternative, which represents the variable cost per flight, which cost combinations can be used in evaluating the variable cost per flight, per flight. D. The right answer is option A. Let me show you the explanation. Okay. Here we have the variable costs are those that are incurred only when a product is made or a service is delivered. The variable cost per flight for an airline includes costs that are incurred each time a plane flies. So the variable cost per flight are the costs which incurred each time a flight takeoffs. So fuel is expended, food service is needed for the passengers for every flight, and airport landing fees are incurred with each trip a plane makes a landing. So therefore, these are all the variable costs. So option B represents the flight crew salary, because the flight crew salary is it's a fixed amount, which is not dependent upon the number of flights made or the number of times the plane takes off. So these are all fixed costs. So variable cost, the salary for the flight crew is the same regardless of how many flights they make. Regardless of how many flights they make, the salary is fixed. So wages were used here. Okay, if fuel is a variable cost because fuel is expended each time a plane makes, but the fuel crew salary is a fixed amount. Among these cost combinations which can be used. So among these three combinations, which includes the fuel, The food service and the airport landing fees, all these three costs included in this cost combinations can be used to evaluate the variable cost. But check for the option A. Flight crew salary is a fixed amount, fuel is a variable amount, but engine maintenance, which will be done after every flight. Airplane depreciation, it's not provided based upon the number of flights. Baggage handling is based upon number of flights. Airline marketing is not dependent upon the number of flights, it's a fixed amount. Communication system operation. Food service is a variable amount. RAM personnel, their salaries provided, their wages provided to the RAM personnel is a fixed amount. See, among this various combinations, the right combination, the three cost which represents the variable cost per flight, which can be used to evaluate the variable cost per flight as option A, which includes fuel, food service, and airport landing fees. Are you clear? The next we have these are application level questions. So then we have this question number 11. Cell company has discovered that the cost of processing customer invoices is strictly variable within the relevant range. Which one of the following statement concerning the cost of processing customer invoices is incorrect? So the cost of processing customer invoices is strictly variable within the relevant range. The cost of processing customers is said to be variable within the relevant range. So the cost which is variable within the relevant range is termed as variable cost. So among these four statements, which one is incorrect? The total cost of processing customer invoices will increase as the volume of customer invoices increases. We know that the cost of processing customer invoice per customer invoice is a variable cost. Hence, the total cost of processing customer invoices will increase as the volume of customer invoice increases. Or the cost per unit of processing customer invoice will decline as the volume of customer invoices increases. The average cost per unit for processing customer invoice will equal the incremental cost of processing one more customer invoice. The cost of processing the 100th customer invoice will be the same as the cost of processing the first customer invoice. So, among the following statement, which statement is incorrect? Yes, option B, because all the other definitions form parts of the variable cost. Here what you said that the cost per unit of processing customer invoice will decline as the volume of customer invoice increases is applicable for fixed cost. As the level of production increases, the per unit fixed cost keeps decreasing. So the per unit variable cost will be always constant. The total variable cost will vary as the production increases, as the volume of customer invoice increases, the total cost of processing customer invoices will also increases. The average cost will be the same, will be the incremental cost of processing the one more customer invoice, and the cost of processing the 100th customer invoice will be the same as the cost of processing the first customer invoice because the unit variable cost will be the same. Okay, let's move forward to the next question. Question number 12. So we have provided with a detailed question, but let's get the last one line question. Research and development costs for Hitchcock's new products are. What is the research and development cost? We have provided with the details for Hitchcock company. Hitchcock Industries has developed two new products but has only enough plant capacity to introduce one of these products this year. The company controller has gathered the following data to assist management in deciding which product should be selected for production. And the fixed overhead includes proportional rent and utilities, machinery depreciation, and supervisory salaries. Selling and administrative expenses are not allocated to products. And the main product, power grill and power saw, all the cost per unit and the fixed cost for those two products are provided to us. And the question that is asked is research and development cost for Hitchcock's two new products are, whether it is relevant cost, opportunity cost, conversion cost, or sunk cost. Can you give me the answer? What does research and development cost refers to? Whether it is relevant cost, opportunity cost, conversion cost, or sunk cost. Can you give me the answer? Do you have a guess? Yeah. Let's analyze each and every example. Relevant cost. Relevant costs are the costs that are relevant to decision making. The research and development cost. What is the research and development cost? These are already incurred, past costs. We have already incurred those costs. So already incurred costs, past cost or historical costs, whether they have any relevance in our decision making. Whether can we change the incurrence of that cost by, taking a decisions today? Taking a decision today. Can we alter certain like research and development costs that we incurred earlier by a decision that we take today? No, it's not possible. So it's not a relevant cost because they are irrelevant cost. To this irrelevant means they are not relevant to the current decision making because they do not change any actions that we undertaken in past. So they are not relevant cost. They are irrelevant to decision making. Then opportunity cost. What is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost are the costs that are that are the cost of the next best alternative that is forgone. So here we have there is no information regarding the next best alternative that we have forgone. So this research and development cost is not an opportunity cost. And conversion cost. What is conversion cost? Conversion costs are the cost incurred for the direct material and the manufacturing overhead. So research and development cost is neither a direct labor cost or neither a manufacturing overhead cost. They are pre-production cost. And sunk cost. What is sunk cost? Sunk costs are the past cost or historical cost. Research and development costs are past costs because we have already conducted the research, we have already developed this new products, power drill and power saw. So these costs incurred, the research and development cost incurred for power drill and power saw is a sunk cost, which is historical cost. We cannot alter. They are not relevant to decision making. So the right answer is option D, sunk cost. Do you want to see the explanation? Let me show you. Relevant costs are costs that are different between options. Since there are no options in this question, these R&D costs are not relevant. So we are not provided with the two options. There are research and development costs are only provided to us. So these are not relevant costs. Opportunity costs are the lost benefit from the next best use of a resource. These R&D costs have already been incurred and are therefore not opportunity costs. We have already incurred, so we have not forgone anything. So this is not an opportunity cost. Conversion costs are the cost of direct labor and overhead, the cost of converting raw materials to the finished goods. So this research and development cost is not a conversion cost. Because these R&D costs have already been spent, they are sunk costs. Why they are sunk costs? Because they have already been spent, they have already been incurred, their past cost or historical cost. Hence they are sunk cost. Are you clear? Okay. So this is an important question. You can expect this kinds of question in the question, CMA exam. So Taylor Corporation is determining the cost behavior of several items in order to budget for the upcoming year. Past trends have indicated the following dollars will spend at three different levels of output. We are provided with three different levels of output: 10,000 units, 12,000 units, and 15,000 units. And the cost A, B, and C various costs are also provided. In establishing a budget for 14,000 units, Taylor should treat cost A, B, and C respectively as what represents cost A, cost B, and cost C. This is what the question is about. So we need to check. Let's after analyzing the option, we are provided with semi-variable, fixed, and variable, variable, fixed, and variable. So the question is asked whether this A, B, C is a variable cost, fixed cost, semi-variable cost, or semi-fixed cost. So let's examine each and every cost in detail. So we know that total per unit variable cost will be constant. Total fixed cost keeps on decreasing as the production level increases, and semi-variable cost will be varying. So let's check cost A. 25,000 for 10,000 units. What will be cost A? We know that 25,000 is for 10,000 units. For 1,000 units, 25,000 divided by 10,000, which is going to be 2.5. Right. Then this is for cost A. A 25,000, 2.5. Let's take for 29,000. Let's check next. $29,000 divided by 12,000. Divided by 12,000 equals 2.42. Let's check. 35,000 divided by 15,000. 2.33. After analyzing this per unit cost, we find that the per unit cost is varying. If it is variable cost, this per unit cost is going to be fixed. If it is fixed cost, this per unit cost will be decreasing. But we will be decreasing. We know that 25,000 divided 10,000 was 2.5. When it is increased to 12,000 units, it was 2.42. When it increased to 15,000 units, the per unit cost becomes 2.33. It can either be fixed cost or semi-variable cost. It is semi-variable cost because that in the fixed cost, total fixed cost remains the same, but we know that the total cost is not the same. Total cost remains keeps on changing. So we can say that they are semi-fixed cost. So this A cost is a semi-fixed cost, semi-variable cost, because per unit cost is varying. Then let's check for B. We know that B, for 10,000 units, the cost was 10,000. For 12,000 and 15,000 units, the cost was 15,000. We can see a fixed pattern here. Let's see. Maybe this 10,000 units will be the relevant range. When it shifted to 12,000 units, it shifted to 15,000. When it was 15,000 units, the cost was 15,000 because there is a fixed pattern, because within the relevant range, the total cost remain fixed. So B is a fixed cost. Let's check what is C. In case of C, we know that at 10,000, the cost was 15,000. So 15,000 divided by 10,000 is going to be 1.5. And at 12,000 units, okay, at 12,000 units, the cost is 18,000 divided by 12,000 is 1.5. And at 15,000 units, the cost is 22,500 divided by 10,000 is 1.5. So while observing this pattern, we know that the unit cost remains fixed. We know that for variable cost, the unit cost is fixed. So cost C is a variable cost. So cost A semi-variable, cost B fixed cost C variable cost. From the option A is the right answer. Are you clear? Okay. Okay, question number 14. Let's move forward. The marketing manager of Ames company has learned the following about a new product that is being introduced by Ames. Sales of this product are planned at 100,000 for the first year. Sales commission expense is budgeted at 8% of the sales, plus the marketing manager's incentive budgeted at an additional 1.1/2%. The preparation of a product brochure will require 20 hours of marketing salaried staff time at an average rate of 100 per hour and 10 hours at 150 per hour for an outside illustrator's effort. The variable marketing cost for this new product will be. We have to find the variable marketing cost. So the sales of this product are planned at 100,000 for the first year, and sales commission expense is budgeted at 8% of the sales plus the marketing manager's incentive budgeted an additional 1/2%. We know that sales commission expense is 8% of the sales. If the sale varies, the commission expense amount also varies. And the marketing manager's incentive is budgeted 1/2%. So this 1/2% is of the sales. If the sales increases, the amount also increases because they are variable cost. If those costs which varies with the level of production is variable cost. So the sales commission expense and the marketing manager's incentive is also a variable cost. And the preparation of brochure requires 20 hours of marketing salaried staff time at an average of 100 per hour. So 20 hours of marketing salaried staff and it will be paid at 100 per hour and 150 per hour for illustrator's effort. So the variable marketing cost for this new product will be. So let's find out. Can you find the answer? Can you give me the answer? Okay, let me do. So the sales, let's check. The sales commission expense and marketing manager's incentive is a variable expense as it changes with the level of sales. As the level of sales increases, this expenses is also going to change. And this preparation of production brochure will require 20 hours of marketing salaried staff time at an average rate of 100 per hour. Because the preparation of production brochure requires 20 hours. 20 hours at the rate of 100 and 10 hours at the rate of 150. This is going to, this is fixed amount because whether the sale is 100,000 or more or 100,000 or 100 less than 100,000, this cost is not going to change. They are fixed cost. But those costs which changes with the level of sales is the sales commission expenses for the sales commission expense for the sales staff and the marketing manager's incentive. So the sales commission is what is the 8% of the sales value. We know that the budgeted sales value, the planned sales value is the planned sales value is 100,000, 8% of which will be 8,000. And we know that the marketing manager's incentive provided to the marketing manager, which is 1/2% of the sales value, 100,000 into 0.5%. 1/2 represents 0.5%, which is 500. So the total variable cost for marketing is equal to 8,000 plus 500 which is equal to 8,500, which is the total variable cost. This cost of preparation of the production brochure, 20 hours of marketing salary staff time at an average rate of 100 per hour and 150 per hour at 10 hours for the illustrator is a fixed expense. Irrespective of the level of sales, this cost is not going to change. This cost remains the same. So those costs which varies with the level of sales represents a variable cost. So those costs are the sales commission expense and the marketing manager's incentive, which is 8,000 plus 500, 8,500. So option A is the right answer. This is what it is. So we have another question similar to that one we discussed above. Let's skip because we have already discussed how can we find the answer. Just divide the total cost divided by the total units. We find the per unit cost. Let's just observe the pattern of the per unit cost. If the per unit cost is fixed, it is variable cost. If the per unit cost is decreasing, it is semi-variable cost. If the total cost, like cost is a fixed cost, observe the total cost. If it is fixed, constant, it is total cost. Okay. This question falls from the next session. Let's discuss this question when we complete next section, which is includes cost of goods sold and cost of goods manufactured. Yes. Okay. This is the same from the previously discovered Hitchcock Industries. And the final one-line question, the total overhead cost of 13.5 for Hitchcock's power saw is same. So the total overhead cost includes the variable overhead and the fixed overhead. For power saw, the variable overhead is 9 and fixed overhead is 4.5. 9 plus 4.5 equals 13.5, which represents the total variable overhead. What is this total overhead cost of 13.5 for Hitchcock's power saw is? Whether it is carrying cost, sunk cost, committed cost, or mixed cost. Can you give me the answer? It's option B, mixed cost. You are right. Carrying cost, it's not inventory. Carrying cost is related to inventory. It is not related to inventory. Sunk cost is already incurred cost, past cost. Committed cost means the cost related to the infrastructure facilities or the cost that we cannot alter. It's unavoidable. It's not a mixed cost, includes variable and fixed elements. So it is a mixed cost. Okay. So that's all for today's session. So we will be discussing some of the questions from this part tomorrow, and we will be covering next section, next module, or the next topic from the section, which includes cost of goods sold and cost of manufacturing. So let's stop. Let's wind up today's session. Thank you.